Commerce Alive today presents
Spirit Airlines. Commercial aviation is inherently risky, so it is appropriate that the venture that led to the birth of Spirit Airlines involved rolling the dice. Ned Homfeld had once considered designing racing yachts for a living. Instead, he started Ground Air Transfer, a surface transportation company specializing in delivering critical parts for automotive manufacturers. In 1983, he was asked to help finance a tour operator that he renamed Charter One. It hired turboprop aircraft for gambling trips from Chicago to Atlantic City, which it soon began serving from Boston, Detroit, and Providence. Flights to Florida became the next focus as gambling became more commonplace in other states. The Bahamas became a destination in 1984, first served from Boston and then from Chicago and Detroit as well. San Juan and Las Vegas were added in a couple of years. To better control its destiny, Charter One began leasing 2 planes of its own in 1990, Convair 580 turboprops. The demise of the original Midway Airlines brought down the prices for used aircraft. The company bought 4 DC-9 aircraft, allowing it to launch twice daily service between Detroit and Atlantic City as Spirit Airlines. Spirit's background as tour operator gave it a predisposition to filling as many seats as possible. It employed 120 at the time and carried 150,000 passengers. By 1993, annual revenues were almost $21 million. The carrier flew more than 275,000 people that year. Phenomenal growth continued the next year. Sales were $56 million with 683,000 passengers. The early 1990s were a period of consolidation among airlines. A global recession and the repercussions of the Persian Gulf War made it nearly impossible for even established carriers to post a profit. Making things easier for the new startups were readily available aircraft and personnel that had been employed by Pan Am, Eastern, or Midway before their demise. Spirit also was able to obtain cheaper, non-union labor. Major airlines could still make it very difficult for low-cost airlines to get a toehold in their hubs. In 1994, Spirit attempted to buy 2 gates at Detroit Metropolitan Wayne County Airport from U.S. Airways for $950,000. But they were sold to Northwest Airlines, which resold them to Trans World Airlines, according to the Wall Street Journal. Spirit was able to buy a hangar at Detroit Metropolitan Wayne County Airport from Delta Airlines in 1995, which it used to perform its own maintenance. Northwest Airlines also had been eyeing the hangar. Spirit's low-cost strategy axed some traditional amenities, such as frequent flyer miles and in-flight meals. Tickets were also non-refundable. Spirit introduced Freedom Fare service from Detroit to New England beginning in December 1995. The first once-daily flights, to Philadelphia, featured fares as low as $49 one way. The next February, Boston was added, beginning at $69 one way. A month later, Spirit announced service to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which boasted plenty of golf courses, one of Spirit's prerequisites for leisure destinations. In the spring of 1996, Cummer Holdings Incorporated announced plans to buy Spirit Airlines for $20 million. It had considered investing in Spirit since 1994. The deal, however, never materialized. By this time, Spirit was flying 10 DC-9s, 5 of which it owned. It had 500 employees, a fifth of them seasonal. Revenues were about $60 million per year, with profits of $3 to $4 million. Cummer, regional carrier for Delta Airlines, was looking for opportunities among startups with low-cost labor, while Spirit sought a big brother to help it along amidst increased competition. Cummer backed out of the deal, ostensibly because of another startup's accident in the Everglades. The May 1996 ValueJet crash stigmatized virtually all budget carriers in the United States. Spirit sent out thousands of postcards assuring its customers of the safety of its planes. A Catch the Spirit media campaign was launched at the end of 1996, pitching Spirit's perfect safety record to family travelers. The $2 million promotion used radio and TV advertising and billboards and involved painting the company's jets with a new logo. Spirit had sales of $63 million in 1996, when it carried more than 750,000 passengers and had about 700 employees. These were respectable results, as the price of jet fuel rose 25%, necessitating an increase in fares. Overall sales fell only moderately in the winter of 1996 to 97, and many other startups failed. Still, Spirit posted its only annual loss in 1996. Spirit was driven out of the Detroit-Philadelphia market by Northwest, which matched its fares and added more seats after the value jet crash. A couple of months after Spirit abandoned the route, Northwest raised fares to their previous levels, giving rise to charges of predatory pricing that the Justice Department and Department of Transportation took very seriously, spurring talk of possible re-regulation in the industry. Spirit's planes soon filled up again. The airline began flying some of Sun Jet Incorporated's routes out of New Jersey after the Florida charter carrier declared bankruptcy in June 1997. Reservations and marketing company World Technology Systems had been using both Sun Jet and Spirit to fly its tours, the latter in partnership with charter operator Myrtle Beach Jet Express, based in Atlanta. Spirit's partnership with Jet Express was dissolved amid name-calling and finger-pointing in August 1997. A Jet Express spokesman pointed to Spirit's poor performance, and Homfeld called attention to the questionable finances of its rival, which owed the city of Myrtle Beach $770,000. When Jet Express pulled out of the market 2 years later, Sun News business writer David Wren claimed Spirit was to blame for its demise as it had copied its service and marketing plan. He noted that in 1995, before Jet Express started, Myrtle Beach International was a sleepy airport with little air service, especially low-cost air service and Dashu speak of. Homfeld moved to Miami in November 1997. That city and 4 others in Florida as well as Atlantic City, New Jersey were soon wooing Spirit Airlines, then looking for a new place to locate its headquarters, reservation center, and maintenance base. Spirit was planning to relocate its administrative staff of 50 by the summer's end and had plans to create another 500 jobs within 3 years. Spirit began to replace its DC-9s with larger MD-80s in the fall of 1997 as it vied for a slot at New York City's LaGuardia International Airport. A few months later, Spirit Airlines Vice Chairman Mark Kahan testified before the U.S. Senate Subcommittee on Transportation regarding the Northwest anti-competitiveness matter. As an impending pilot strike at Northwest Airlines loomed nearer in late summer 1998, Spirit stepped up service in the areas where it had competed against its giant rival. As its reservation calls peaked, Spirit rerouted 2 of its DC-9s and acquired an MD-80 from another airline to increase capacity. Spirit Airlines had $131 million in revenues in 1998 and expected $235 million the next year. Profits were $6.7 million. Spirit's fleet had grown to 20 aircraft. Although it had increased its seating capacity by 50%, it posted the industry's highest load factor for the year, 76.4%. It carried 1.4 million passengers that year, a nearly 80% increase over 1997, and had 1,000 employees. Spirit had more than tripled its advertising budget to $7 million in 1998. Detroit Metropolitan Wayne County Airport, which had embarked upon a $1.8 billion expansion project, announced plans to build 6 temporary gates in February 1999. 2 were to be assigned to Spirit and the other 4 to Southwest Airlines, which had also had to borrow gates. Spirit was spending $1.3 million a year at $250 to $400 a turn to rent spare gates from other carriers, according to the Wall Street Journal. Lack of gates had contributed to Spirit's spotty service record, as sometimes passengers would be kept on the tarmac for up to an hour while a plane bargained for a place to park. Spirit operated more than 24 flights a day out of Detroit. The company relocated its headquarters to the Fort Lauderdale area after months of being courted by various cities. Fort Lauderdale was already home to Spirit's tour company. Miami soon was ruled out, as it was crowded and not even one of Spirit's destinations. State tax incentives worth up to $1.65 million had been offered the carrier in an attempt to land it at Southwest Florida International Airport in Lee County. In March 1999, however, Spirit chose Miramar, near Fort Lauderdale in Broward County. This would ultimately bring 500 high-paying jobs with an average annual salary of $35,000 to the area. In April, 25 administrative employees were the first to relocate to a temporary home at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. They were scheduled to be followed by flight training, finance, and accounting personnel in November upon completion of the company's office building. An additional reservations facility also was planned for the area. The total state/county incentive package was worth $2 million in cash and tax cuts. At the same time, Horry County, South Carolina was trying to convince Spirit to build a heavy maintenance facility at its Myrtle Beach International Airport, which also would bring hundreds of jobs. Spirit accounted for a quarter of the airport's traffic. Interestingly, Spirit's employment at Detroit was expected to increase following the relocation of its headquarters. Spirit became a signatory carrier there, giving it more of a voice regarding airport expansion projects and assuring it of gate space until 2008. It still had to wait months before completion of its 2 temporary gates, however. With the opening of casinos in Michigan, Spirit suspended service between Detroit and Atlantic City. Having successfully expanded into New York, it added Los Angeles in June 1999, viewing it as a leisure market. The red-eye flight allowed Spirit to increase utilization without adding aircraft, Homfeld told Air Transport World. Spirit's new headquarters opened in November 1999, and the carrier expected to post $235 million in revenues for the year. In 2000, the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, fined Spirit Airlines $67,000 for violating federal regulations on cabin and seat markings and placards. Discrepancies were found in the marking and placarding of emergency equipment, passenger seats, storage areas and doors on 8 of Spirit's DC-9 and MD-80 aircraft. Spirit inaugurated service to San Juan, Puerto Rico in November 2001. A fully integrated Spanish-language customer service plan was implemented, including a website and dedicated reservation line. Spirit resumed flights to Washington, D.C.'s Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport, which were suspended for 2 years after the September 11 attacks. Spirit began service to Grand Cayman, San Francisco, and Boston in 2006. In 2007, Spirit filed applications to offer service to Costa Rica, Haiti, the Netherlands Antilles, and Venezuela. In June 2008, Spirit Airlines made a WARN Act application to potentially relocate or lay off hundreds of pilots and flight attendants and close its San Juan and LaGuardia crew bases. In September 2008, Spirit began placing advertisements on the side of aircraft, overhead bins, tray tables, seatback inserts and bulkheads. In May 2009, after more than 4 years of inconclusive negotiations between the airline and the Airline Pilots Association, Spirit pilots overwhelmingly voted in favor of strike action over compensation, work rules, and benefits. At that time, Spirit pilots were among the lowest paid Airbus pilots in the United States. On June 12, 2010, Spirit grounded its flights when its unionized pilots walked out on strike, stranding thousands of passengers. It was the first passenger airline strike by American ALPA-represented pilots since Cummer in 2001. On June 15, negotiations between the airline and ALPA resumed. A tentative agreement was reached late in the evening on June 16, which Spirit pilots later ratified with 74% approval, brought Spirit pilots' compensation and benefits in line with comparable Airbus operators in the U.S. Flights resumed on June 18. Spirit Plus was rebranded as Big Front Seat and business class service was discontinued in 2007. For an additional fee, a person could choose Big Front Seat or upgrade at the airport. In December 2010, Spirit Airlines introduced the free Spirit World MasterCard. Spirit Airlines became the first U.S. airline to charge passengers for carry-on bags in 2010. They were later followed by Allegiant Air and Frontier Airlines. A scandal arose in April 2012 when Spirit refused to refund a terminally ill American military veteran, who had purchased a non-refundable ticket between Florida and Atlantic City before receiving orders from his doctor not to fly. The decision caused outrage among veterans groups and the general public, some of whom threatened to boycott Spirit unless both a refund and apology were issued. In May, Spirit CEO Ben Baldanza apologized for how the situation was handled and personally refunded the man's ticket. The airline made a $5,000 donation to the Wounded Warrior Project in his name. In August 2013, Spirit reached an agreement on a new 5-year deal with the Transport Workers Union of America, who represent the airline's flight dispatchers. Former AirTran CEO Robert L. Fernaro replaced Baldanza as CEO in 2016. This prompted rumors of a merger with Frontier Airlines, which would have created the largest ultra-low-cost carrier in the Americas. Fernaro announced the airline would be teaming up with the Disney Institute to create a common purpose and a fresh set of service standards, and changing policies internally to create a more welcoming environment. By 2017, Spirit's on-time performance was second in the country, behind only Delta Airlines, a significant improvement from December 2015, when it ranked last among 13 airlines with 68.7% of flights arriving on time. In February 2018, Spirit was the only airline in North America to make the list of the top 10 safest in the world. Spirit announced in 2018 that it would be the first ultra-low-cost carrier to fit its aircraft with high-speed Wi-Fi access, which started that fall. All of their aircraft were expected to be equipped with Wi-Fi by summer 2019. In October 2019, Spirit Airlines announced plans to move its headquarters to Dania Beach, Florida. The new complex was planned to be around 500,000 square feet and had plans to be equipped with flight simulators. The plans were changed in 2021 for the 6-story headquarters to be 180,222 square feet, the training facility to be around 100,000 square feet, and the parking garage to have 998 spaces. Later that year, Spirit Airlines announced plans to purchase 100 new Airbus A320neo family aircraft. A February 2020 fleet plan outlined 293 aircraft planned by 2027. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Spirit Airlines received $334 million in aid in the form of grants and loans via the Coronavirus Aid, Relief and Economic Security Act, CARES. The money was used to fund employees until September 30th. In July 2020, the company announced that it would put 20 to 30% of its employees on leave of absence in October. In August, some pilots and flight attendants agreed to take a voluntary leave of absence or have their work schedule temporarily reduced to avoid layoffs. In July 2020, a passenger died of COVID-19 on a Spirit Airlines flight. Spirit Airlines claimed it notified the Centers for Disease Control, but there was no record of the contact. Passengers on the flight were not informed that they were around an infected individual. Spirit's in-flight internet service, provided by Thales Flight Live, transitioned to a new satellite in the summer of 2022 to provide the fastest Wi-Fi service of any US-based airline. The SES-17 high-throughput satellite from operator SES provided A320 and A321 passengers across all Spirit routes with connection speeds of up to 400 megabits per second throughout their flight. In August 2023, the airline converted an order for 31 Airbus A319neo into the larger A321neo. Spirit's order had made up a third of all A319neo orders, putting the type's future in question. By this time, Spirit's early financial troubles were beginning to ease. On January 16, 2025, Spirit Airlines laid off 200 employees to reduce costs. On January 24, Spirit Airlines updated its dress code to deny boarding to passengers wearing inappropriate clothing or displaying offensive tattoos. In April 2025, Spirit emerged from bankruptcy under new CEO Dave Davis. Since 2022, various competing low-cost airlines announced plans to acquire Spirit. In February 2022, Frontier Airlines announced its intention to acquire Spirit, pending regulatory approval, with Frontier Airlines stock as the surviving entity. The deal would have made the combined airline the fifth largest airline in the U.S. In July 2022, Spirit shareholders rejected Frontier's offer. In April 2022, JetBlue proposed to acquire Spirit for $33 per share in cash, equivalent to $3.6 billion. In May, Spirit said its board of directors had decided not to consider JetBlue's proposal. According to Spirit Airlines, JetBlue's proposed acquisition would be unlikely to be approved by the U.S. Department of Justice's Antitrust Division, because it would likely believe that an ultra-low-cost carrier being purchased by a higher-fare airline would increase fares for consumers. Spirit noted that the Antitrust Division was looking into JetBlue's strategic partnership with American Airlines for the same reason. That July, JetBlue reached an agreement to purchase Spirit for $33.50 per share, with additional inducements for Spirit shareholders. The deal would have made the unified company the fifth largest airline based in the United States. Spirit shareholders voted to approve the deal, but the Department of Justice sued to block it, alleging that the merger would result in higher fares, fewer seats, and harm millions of consumers. The trial began in October 2023, and at its conclusion, a federal judge blocked JetBlue's acquisition of Spirit Airlines on January 16, 2024, stating that the deal was anti-competitive towards other airline corporations and would harm consumers. As a result, Spirit Airlines stock fell by approximately 47%, and the airline expressed concern over its future. Speculators predicted that Spirit may have to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, followed by a liquidation process, if the airline could not come up with a growth plan. However, on January 18, Spirit denied these speculations, saying that the company has no plans to file for bankruptcy and was looking for new plans to maintain its future. JetBlue ended its takeover attempt on March 4, 2024, after federal judge William G. Young ruled the move would reduce competition. In November 2024, Spirit announced that it was preparing to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The company's stock dropped over 50%, and quarterly results were not to be revealed due to the announcement. On November 18, it filed for Chapter 11, listing assets and liabilities between $1 billion and $10 billion. The company blamed mounting losses, failed merger agreements, increasing debt, and high competition. The company was to continue operating through the bankruptcy, from which it expected to emerge by the beginning of 2025. As a result of the bankruptcy filing, Spirit Airlines was delisted from the NYSE. Frontier Airlines again offered to purchase the airline in January. Spirit rejected the offer of $2.1 billion in stock and cash, which would have also required Spirit's creditors to invest $350 million. The offer was significantly lower than the $2.9 billion merger deal the airlines had announced in early 2022. Despite rejecting the initial offer, Spirit said it would welcome further negotiations with Frontier. By the spring of 2025, Spirit had emerged from Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection after finalizing its debt and having its take-private bankruptcy plan approved in February. However, in August, Spirit announced that it was running short of cash and may not be able to stay in business for another year. On August 29, 2025, it filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy for the second time in less than a year, as part of a plan to reduce its fleet and stabilize its position. To combat the airline's financial issues, Spirit began a series of layoffs. In September, Spirit announced it was planning to furlough one-third of its flight attendants, affecting around 1,800 people. The announcement came a week after the company said it planned to reduce flying capacity by 25% in its November schedule. In October, Spirit Airlines revealed further details of its shrink-to-shine restructuring plan, including a plan to furlough 365 pilots and downgrade up to 170 additional pilots in the first quarter of 2026 as part of broader efforts to restore profitability, including a projected net profit of $219 million in 2027. On April 15, 2026, reports indicated that Spirit Airlines was at risk of imminent liquidation as surging jet fuel prices, driven sharply higher by the 2026 Iran war, deepened the carrier's already severe financial distress. The conflict-related spike in global oil markets pushed fuel costs to levels that Spirit's ultra-low-cost model could not absorb, compounding the airline's ongoing losses from high debt, labor expenses, and intense fare competition. By April 18, the airline was actively seeking a federal bailout in an effort to avoid liquidation, and later that month the Trump administration said it was considering acquiring a controlling stake in the company. The airline ceased operations on May 2, 2026, at 3 a.m. EDT after bailout negotiations between its creditors and the Trump administration collapsed. The airline blamed sharply rising fuel costs associated with the 2026 Iran war for the shutdown decision, though the carrier was already in a weakened financial position following years of losses, failed merger attempts, and 2 Chapter 11 bankruptcy filings. The final Spirit Airlines flight landed in Dallas-Fort Worth shortly after midnight on May 2, 2026 after its trip from Detroit. The company said that it would automatically issue refunds for tickets purchased directly from the airline, but that tickets purchased through third-party booking platforms were subject to separate refund processes. Following the shutdown, several airlines introduced discounted rescue fares for affected passengers, and U.S. carriers extended travel accommodations to Spirit employees seeking to return home and, in some cases, offered or pledged to offer expedited or priority consideration in hiring.
Only one airline is known for sensational fares, and that's Spirit Airlines. Now you can catch the Spirit to Myrtle Beach from only $70, Orlando or Tampa from only $84, Fort Myers or Fort Lauderdale from only $97, and starting October 8th, new service to West Palm Beach from only $89. Sensational fares? You'd better believe it. Call your travel agent or Spirit Airlines at 1-800-772-7117.
Catch the spirit of Spirit Airlines.
If you have any fond memories, please indicate it at the comments below. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and like.